Hey everybody, what's up? You guys have been requesting the new Spider-Man Homecoming, so today we're going to talk all about the Vulture. He's one of the coolest members of the Sinister Six. Michael Keaton is going to be badass. So if you're new to the channel, I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of Spider-Man videos this year, both for the comics, both for the movies, the TV shows. There's even a new Spider-Man TV show that's coming up, so be sure to subscribe to get everything. And there's a giveaway going on that I'll explain at the end of the video. So here's 10 really cool things you need to know about the Vulture. Number 10. Michael Keaton is most known for his role as Batman. It's something that's followed him around his entire career. He's said many times since he's come back to acting, he took a break to raise his family, but has come back with a vengeance and is always happy to joke about his time as Batman.
Kangaroo Jack asks, do you look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm Batman? 17, 18 times a day. I'm Batman.
In fact, the reason he said he left the franchise is because he got a whiff of Joel Schumacher's Batman. Why does Batman always have to be so serious? He literally heard them say that and said that that was the cue for him to leave. So goodbye, Batman. Number 9. Enter the Birdman. In 2014, Keaton also starred in a movie called Birdman, which won several Oscars. Keaton himself was nominated for Best Actor. It was an amazing movie, but a lot of you might think this is a funny coincidence because he's trading one bird costume for another, but it goes way deeper than that. The movie itself is a dark comedy about the blurring of the characters' personal and professional lives. He's this old washed-up actor who used to be incredibly famous for playing a superhero called Birdman. Starting to sound familiar, right? The filmmakers turned it into a parody of the Batman franchise, and of course Keaton, being a total champ, was more than happy to oblige. In order to show how the character couldn't always tell what was real from what was fake, sometimes his Birdman self would appear to him behind and fly around speaking to him in a really crazy superhero voice. It's super trippy. The Birdman voice that Keaton used when he was in the costume flying around was the same Batman voice that he used during the Tim Burton films. He said that it was a big joke between him and the director. He's like, yeah, go for it. Use the Batman voice. And of course, Keaton was totally happy to do it. Number 8. Origins. Vulture is one of Spider-Man's oldest villains in the comics. Spider-Man debuted in Amazing Fantasy number 15 in 1962. Vulture debuted in Spider-Man's first solo title, Amazing Spider-Man number 2 in 1963, that next year. One of the very first big villains. The basic setup is that you don't know much about his backstory. He just started out as a villain for Spider-Man to defeat. He's been terrorizing New York City with this artificial harness looking like a vulture. So Peter Parker decides to photograph the criminal in action. Selling the photographs will help pay for Aunt May make ends meet, so he's got his big break. Spider-Man tracks Vulture to his hideout before he's doing a big jewel robbery, but ends up getting his ass handed to him, so he hobbles home and fixes his gear, makes his gadgets a little bit better, goes back and is finally able to take him down. Does that not look like something that happens during this trailer? They're here at Coney Island. Spider-Man is in his old costume. He got his ass handed to him. And then later in the film, we see him saving that Staten Island ferry with the new Stark Tech suit. 7. Tragic origin. Like a lot of villains, he starts out as a relatively good person who falls on hard times. He's an electrician, an engineer, working with his partner at B&T Electronics, Bestman and Toombs. Bestman steals his money, cuts him out of the business, so Toombs is forced to turn to a life of crime to support himself. It was a bit of a long haul before they paid that off because Stan Lee wrote that original story about him just being a random Spider-Man villain with wings on. It was 1983 before they called back to him getting revenge on that partner, Bestman, from Bestman and Toombs Electronics. Number 6, what a coincidence, he was a founding member of the Sinister Six. In Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 1 in 1964, Dr. Octopus breaks out of prison and gathers Mysterio, Electro, Kraven the Hunter, Vulture, and Sandman to get revenge against Spider-Man, teaming up to form the Sinister Six. Spider-Man has lost his powers, so he's trying to hide out and lay low till he can regain his identity. What ends up happening is that he fights each of the members of the Sinister Six one at a time through different facilities. What a coincidence. The first fight that he has is at a Stark Industries power plant. He faces Electro. What a coincidence that Iron Man is in this movie. There's going to be a lot of Stark Tech things. He even offers to help Spider-Man in the comic book issue. He fights Kraven in Central Park, who has 3 tigers he has to take down. He's offered help by the Human Torch. You can see there's a theme here where he meets a bunch of his friends along the way and he says, no, I'm going to do this by myself. It's my chance to be a hero. Also in keeping with the tone of the Spider-Man Homecoming trailer. So this all comes back around. But he fights Mysterio, he fights Sandman, he fights Vulture, working his way up the boss ladder to Dr. Octopus. Number 5, Vulture can be super creepy when he wants to be if he doesn't already look creepy. During Superior Spider-Man, Spider-Man tracks him down and thinks that he might be using midgets to commit crimes. This is the Dr. Octopus version of Spider-Man when he was in control of Spider-Man's body. So he's already horrified by this. Dr. Octopus is horrified by something that the Vulture is doing, but then he realizes it's even worse. The Vulture has been using small children to commit crimes, something the other members of the Sinister Six would never stoop to. So if the Sinister Six thinks that you are creepy, you're probably pretty creepy. Number 4, Civil War callback from the comics. Even though the movie Civil War was different from comic book Civil War, Vulture actually got to work for the government doing something good by bringing in the criminal Spider-Man after he rebelled against Iron Man. Iron Man took the side of the government, Spider-Man took Captain America's side. He switched sides during the middle of the conflict, even though it wasn't that way in the movie. So the Vulture was hired to bring Spider-Man in. So even though he's still relatively evil, Dark Reign style, he got to pretend or make believe that he was good. Number 3, there have been 5 different versions of the Vulture in the comics. Even though the movie version is going to be Adrian Toomes, the original, there was Blackie Drago, Clifton Shallot, Vulturians, and then Jimmy Natale. So Blackie Drago was Toomes' cellmate in prison. He tried to trick him into giving him the harness, but eventually Toomes got out of prison and retook the mantle. Then later, another scientist named Clifton Shallot mutated into an actual Vulture, but actually had real wings, so it was a little more like Ultimate Spider-Man with a more freakish-looking Green Goblin situation. The other latest one, back in 2009, Jimmy Natale was just this low-level mobster who was also mutated into this freakish-looking actual Vulture creature. So Toomes was the only one that wore the harness. The others were actually mutated into real Vultures. Number 2, he went full-on vampire for a little while. He actually got this serum in 1994 during Amazing Spider-Man number 386 called Juvenator, you can imagine what that does, that allowed him to drain the life force from living beings when he touched them with these special gauntlets. So it's basically like a version of Dracula flying around in the Vulture harness. So you can imagine him draining Spider-Man's life force. They actually did this a little bit during Spider-Man the Animated Series in the 90s, but eventually the effects wore off and he becomes an old man again. In number 1, this is not their first attempt to put Vulture in a Spider-Man movie. This is the 4th time they tried to get him in, and obviously the only time that it stuck. You would have remembered if they put him in a previous movie. The first time they tried to get him in a Spider-Man movie was during Spider-Man 3, Sam Raimi's last movie. The studio decided to switch him out for Venom at the last minute, so if you thought that movie was overstuffed with villains and you didn't like that portrayal of Venom, that could have been the Vulture, but I don't know if that would have been any better or not. The second time they tried to do Vulture was in the 4th Spider-Man movie that Sam Raimi was originally going to do before he left the franchise. The 3rd time was when they did the Amazing Spider-Man reboot. They were getting ready to ramp up to Sinister Six. You saw the Vulture harness in the background, sort of an Easter egg. He was going to appear in the Sony Sinister Six movie, which kind of went by the wayside. They're still making it eventually, but as they're just now rolling out the brand new Spider-Man, don't expect to see it anytime soon. But of course, Sony is aggressively moving on Spider-Man IP, so they will try to make a Sinister Six movie once they develop all these brand new characters in Homecoming. What's going to happen next is I have some new Flash to post. There's some new Wonder Woman Ares you guys have been asking me for, so I'll get that out as fast as possible. But there is a new round of the Spider-Man giveaway. I'm actually giving away copies of the Doctor Strange DVD, so it should be Doctor Strange. But all you have to do to enter is be a subscriber, leave a comment on this video. Congratulations to last week's giveaway winner, Kenjitsuka. Please private message me on the back end of my channel so I can get your contact details. While you wait for that, you can click here for my non-spoilery Logan review, and you can click here for my Black Panther video. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you in the next video.